Huh. Go figure. This is the Heroes of the Storm Heroic Spotlight, and today we're looking at Arthas, the Lich King.
Ever get the feeling you're hearing voices in your helmet?
You know, it's interesting to see how Arthas has changed throughout his time in the Nexus. When the game was first made, the guy was almost a joke. I mean, he's the opponent in every test match in trial mode, and in more than a few trailers Yeah, things don't always go well for him. But despite all of that, he's actually a really solid character when you get down to it. There's virtually nothing wrong with his base kit, and he has two really good heroics to choose from. So why all the digs at my man here, Blizzard? I mean, you could say it's karma for... yeah, all of that, but I mean, you kinda made him do it, so... who's the bigger bad guy here, really? Oh my god, all his skins are terrible! Can't we get him anything cooler? He's the freaking Lich King!
Hail to the king, baby.
Nailed it! Arthas' D is Frostmourne Hungers. This ability forces an instant attack that deals additional damage as well as restores a small amount of mana. Now I'm not gonna lie, this ain't no passive. You're gonna be using this all the time. During team fights, during lanes, during camps, everywhere. No matter the situation, you will be swinging your D around at every opportunity. No one will stand before the might of your D. Your D is not to be underestimated. People will cower before the power of your D.
Who else but
Lich King. Lich King. Lich King.
You never really know what he's gonna do next.
Lich King. Lich King. I am one cold brother.
I spent an hour and a half on that. What am I even doing anymore? Okay, all jokes aside, I love this ability. It gives you an unexpected damage boost and mana sustain for free, and it can be upgraded. You can give it a slow, an extra attack, and you can keep increasing its damage forever. Building this almost ensures you'll never run out of mana late game, and after taking your E into consideration, that's saying a lot. You know, I could just stop right there. He'd be a little lacking, sure, but you don't get between a man and his sword. His Q is Death Coil. This is a point-and-click ability that deals minor damage to any enemy hit, but it can also be self-cast to heal for a moderate amount of health instead. Now in Heroes, there's lots of different kinds of tanks. There's characters like Sonya or Arthas who are bruisers for damage, or walls like Muradin and Joanna that just can't be stopped. But when I look at Arthas, all I see is sustain. The guy can die, sure, but you can be damn sure it's going to be a battle just to put him down. See, his Q is just the start of his self-healing abilities. He can also take a passive for it, as well as a heroic. All things considered, that's a lot for a guy in armor with a big sword. You don't even need a healer anymore. Arthas does just fine on his own. Death Coil can also be used to pick off stragglers or aid in camps, but yeah, I pretty much just swear by the heal on this one. You just can't argue with results. Howling Blast is your W, and it's one of your main methods of crowd control. With it, Arthas fires ice towards a targeted area in a straight line. Enemies hit by the target are rooted in place for 1.25 seconds and suffer minor damage as well. Now this is another of those abilities that does its job just fine on its own. Yeah, it can be upgraded, and upgraded well, but even without a single talent, Howling Blast is still very useful. It's Arthas' main method of engaging, and if you can land a sick root, then you're already set to follow it up with your E, your Q, and of course, your D. I swear I'm done with that joke. Promise. And that brings us to his E, Frozen Tempest. I just have to point out that the wiki page for Arthas sounds kinda sarcastic when it talks about him. Now he rules over the damned as the Lich King, and all shall know his wrath. Ooh, scary. This ability creates an icy field around Arthas that gradually saps away at his mana for as long as it remains active. Enemies within the field take minor damage and suffer 10% slower movement and attack speed that can stack up to 4 times. This right here, this is where Arthas stops being just a warrior and becomes an assassin and a specialist as well. The fact that this deals damage as well as a slow to everything around you is amazing. It makes camps viable, minion waves doable, and best of all, it just outright wrecks in team fights. As I said before, Arthas is no slouch when it comes to sustain, so he can easily wade into the thickest of team fights and just start laying waste to everything around him. What makes it even better is how this ability can be upgraded to deal even more damage, or last longer, or even grant more attack speed to Arthas. You can even buff it to be a second rooting ability if you want. Really, the only downside to it all is that a lot of these options show up alongside buffs to his passive, and when push comes to shove, you gotta go with the D. Boom! Just when you think he's finished, he comes out swinging again. As for heroics, Arthas' first is called Army of the Dead. You're really determined not to make this happen, huh, Blizzard? The joke was right there. Arthas creates several ghouls around him that can be devoured to restore a moderate amount of health in a very short cooldown. They also deal minor damage, but yeah, you pretty much just make these guys to eat them. It's like the world's most messed up creepy crawler machine.
It's the creepy crawler's bug maker.
Wait, you weren't supposed to eat that stuff? Ah, shit. The important thing to remember here is you'll want to use this ability before you actually need it. I know that doesn't make much sense, but hear me out. The ability to eat your ghouls for health does have a cooldown, even if it's a small one. So if you summon them too late, you might get bursted down before you can use them. And then they're wasted. And that sucks. His second heroic is Summon Sindragosa. This ability deals moderate damage to all enemies in a line and slows heroes by 60% for 3.5 seconds. Best of all, it shuts off any non-heroes or structures for 20 seconds. 20 seconds! That is insane. Not only does this come with a slow, but it turns off enemy towers and forts for 20 whole seconds. Just imagine the pushing power you could bring to a lane with that kind of time. No wonder Sylvanas hates this guy so much. He completely stole her shtick. So you've got a sustain heroic and a pushing one. But which one is better? Well, as you might imagine, that kind of depends on the situation. If you're down a healer or just need more presence, then take the ghouls. But if it's a push-heavy map like Braxis or one of the boss ones, then the dragon is what you want. Honestly, this is the best kind of problem to have. They're both good picks, regardless of the map you're on. So the final question is, where does Arthas fit in the Nexus? Fucking everywhere! I don't normally say this, but it is never a bad time to Lich King. He can fit into just about any team comp you can imagine, and you're still likely to shine as him. His kit is so varied and so versatile that he can do just about any job you need him to. If you haven't tried him yet, I absolutely recommend it. You will not be disappointed. I don't really have another dick joke to close out on, so here's this.
I am the Lich King, Dark Lord of the Scourge, Master of the Dead, and proprietor of dozens of delicious flavors.
God damn it, Blizzard, just let the man have his dignity. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Gotta give a big shout out to Vixen for the awesome artwork again. She really threw herself at this one. As always, let me know what you think in the comments below, and throw out your suggestions for who to spotlight next. I always look forward to reading your thoughts, and until next time, I'll see you in the Nexus.